सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्। श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात् शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात्। This 8th canto, the first couple of chapters, have been dealing with a beautiful episode called Gajendra Moksha, and we are in the last part of Gajendra Stuti. He says, O Lord, सोहं विश्वसृजं विश्वम् अविश्वं विश्ववेदसं विश्वात्मानमजं ब्रह्म प्रणतोस्मि परं पदम्। Pranatosmi, pranataha, I am prostrating unto you, you who are the creator of this world, Vishwasrajam. The world of this universe is an expansion of you, but there is no worldliness in you. Okay. Stop messing with the words. Can you say the point straight? When you read it, too many repetitions of Vishwa, it seems pretty good. When you look at the meaning, when so many universes are repeated, it doesn't look that palatable. What does he mean here? The same thing that in one of the earlier shlokas we had already seen it. He is just putting it in a different beautiful format. The cause and the effect. The relation between the cause and the effect is that without a cause there cannot be an effect. I cannot say, the other day there was some discussion, and in that discussion they said, I am like this because of my parents. It must be genetics. said, glad you could say that, you could blame it on your parents. I cannot. He said, what do you mean? I cannot say that I am a brahmachari, my father was a brahmachari, my grandfather was a brahmachari. If you see the effect, there has to be a cause. Without a cause, there cannot be effect. Though the effects are seen, does it mean that there is modification in the cause? So there is absolutely no modification in the cause. How can that happen? How can there be the modification that you can see, you can perceive, but then you say that there is no modification in the cause? You can perceive and feel that effect, but as the cause has absolutely not changed. Now when I put on a makeup, or when I put on a different kind of attire, or a costume, the other day there was this, what is that, when all these kids wear weird dresses, Halloween. So I was wearing this kind of thing and gone to a nice costume. It didn't sink in. I'm sure you could scare the kids. Trick or treat, you have tricked them in. I said, okay. Then I pulled him up and I said, this is my 24/7 by 365. I live in this costume. I said, I'm sorry for you. So when I change the costume, I appear as something, there is an effect that you can perceive. But just because you can see the perception, do I change? Does the effect really bring in that kind of a change in me? No. Even though it seems that there is a change, but I who have taken that particular costume, enacting that particular role, I have not changed. Similarly, Vishwam Avishwam. Though there is this seeming presence of universe, I see this universe as not the modification of that supreme, but just as something that I can perceive, but yet in its reality, that which I am perceiving is not there in its essential nature. That is the nature of this world. Swamiji, still, can you put it in English? Can you talk in English? Let's look at it this way. In simple language that we understand. What do we look out for in our day-to-day life? We look out for happiness. That which we are seeking, happiness, is not found in the effect. What is the effect? The world around. The world around that I am interacting with, the world of people, the world of changes, the world of things, the world of beings, the world of creatures, the world of time, space, whatever world that I am interacting with, in anticipation of happiness. That happiness cannot be found in that world because it is just an appearance. But if you have to find that happiness, you have to go to the cause which is the core of your own being. And this beautiful aspect, Gajendra is saying that, Lord, I understand this very much intellectually. I can appreciate this much part of the knowledge intellectually. But as an experience, I need that final touch, final push, final touch of grace from you to establish firmly in that knowledge, which is just a concept for me right now. So he says finally, Lord, No, you know, when you are trying to explain this 28 shlokas, it appeared when it took almost 3 days for us to understand. But to repeat 28 shlokas, how much time would it take? It's not that long. And that too when you are in that kind of pain and with that kind of deenata that you are crying out for the Lord, it would be much faster. Faster than we can think or imagine. So the moment Gajendra finished chanting this particular stuti, Sri Shukdev ji says that when he started this and in the end he said, "Hey Govinda, O Lord, come and give me that final touch so that I can establish in that final beatitude." So there are, you know, the Kathakars, they tell it, they have their own style. Pretty much what I try to do is to just go through the storyline and give as is, but there are some Kathakars that they make it really a lot of stuff added into it. So they say that when Gajendra started, you know, crying out the name of the Lord, when he said Govinda, when he said go, the Lord started. By the time he finished Vinda, he was already there near Gajendra. And as he heard that, you know, these Kathakars' imaginations are so beautiful. Some of the things that I have heard, long period of time, the best pieces, I am just choosing them. So there's this Kathakar, he says that Lord was having his food. Lakshmi ji was serving. And the moment he heard that Artanada, Artha, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 kinds of devotees. Arto, Jignyasu, Artharthi, Jnani cha Bharatarshava, 4 kinds of them. Artha is the first kind. That whenever they are in some kind of a problem or some kind of a troublesome situation, whom do they think of? They think of the Lord. And the intensity with which this Artanada was made, this cry for the Lord was made, that the moment it touched the Lord, he did not even wash his hands. He just stepped out of the dining area, running. And it seems his upper cloth that he was wearing was left on the dining table. His padarakshantu evainam, meaning the footwear, he forgot to wear them. He would normally not go out of the house without wearing them, but footwear was forgotten. And he just rushed. And his vehicle, Garuda, his personal jet airlines, Garuda Airlines, I think there is some airlines like that, Garuda. Anyway, it is patented by Lord. So as he stepped out and rushed down, Garuda said, "Hey, where are you going without me? I know you are there everywhere and you can travel anywhere, but it is my opportunity to serve you. You cannot snatch that opportunity from me." And then his footwear and his Angavastra, they all came in, all his Astra Shastra, they all joined him later as he was flying down. But then the Lord's impatience grew so fast, which is mentioned here. That much part is not exaggeration. The Lord's impatience grew so fast that the speed with which Garuda was traveling, he didn't like it. He didn't appreciate the speed. So what did he do? He jumped out with his own speed. Chandomayena Garudena Samuhyamanam. And what speed did he travel? With the same speed as sound. Now this can be understood in 2-3 different ways. Chandomayena Samuhyamanaha. Speed of sound. The moment he heard that sound, with that same speed, the Lord reached out for Garuda, Gajendra. The second, is that in order to reach to that Lord, or the Lord to reach to us, one of the best means is chanda, is words. So when you go in front of the Lord, and stand in front of Him while you are praying, do not consider, do not go with an attitude or an assumption that it is just a portrait or a photograph or a piece of stone. Yes, you look at it from the essential standpoint, probably it is a piece of paper with colorful print on it. Probably it is a piece of metal or a piece of stone. But through that stone, we take a leap towards that divinity. How? When you can stand there, invoke the presence of that Lord in that idol, in that statue, in that portrait, in that photograph. And when you look into that photograph, all the good memories of that Lord in your heart connect you to that core within. That is why when we come in front of temple, in any temple for that matter, any denomination, when you come into the sanctum, what do you do after coming to the sanctum? Whether you kneel, whether you prostrate, whether you stand, it doesn't matter. But what do you do in utmost devotion? We end up closing our eyes. Why? That which you are seeing connects you to the core within, and when you connect to that core within, you go introverted. And that is the purpose of all these idols. So you connect to that Lord, and when you connect to that Lord, speak to that Lord. Preferably in His language. And since His language is alien to us, what is His language? Sanskritam. And since His language is alien to us, don't bother. You can speak to Him in your own language. स्वामी जी इंग्लिश चलेगा? अरे इंग्लिश भी चलेगा. Half English, half Hindi, that also is fine with Him. God, कैसे हो तू? अपन तेरे पास आए ले. That also is fine. But the point is, connect to that Lord, talk to that Lord, open up. That is one place that when we open up, when we pray ardently, we connect to our own resource, our own source, our own core within. Chandomayena Garudena Samuhyamanaha. How did he appear there in front of Gajendra? Chakrayudhobhyaha. Chakra, one hand was holding chakra, the other hand was holding Padma, then Shankha, then his Gada. Again, with a proper pronunciation. If the becomes dha, then the entire meaning gets changed. Gadha means a donkey. Gada, when the da is not with that emphasis, then it is a mace. So the Lord appeared in front of Gajendra with all these paraphernalia with him. And then what did he do? As soon as Gajendra saw that the Lord was there standing in front of him on his Garuda, tears overflowing in his eyes. Tears overflowing in his eyes that, O Lord, in spite of me being just an animal, you have come to rescue me. And when the thankfulness cannot be expressed in words. When you are thirsty and somebody gives you a glass of water, how do you feel? Very thankful. When you are really hungry, I don't know if you have ever tasted hunger. We taste a lot of food, But have you ever tasted hunger? Where not being able to have food for say 3-4 days? Yes, Swamiji, in my lifetime 3-4 days. Not in a lifetime, continuously. Continuously did you not have food for 3-4 days? Then you know the taste of hunger. And at that time when you are so hungry that your internals are going in cramps. You don't have patience, you don't have energy to stand up, do anything. And at that time, somebody offers food. Your attitude towards that person, when they give that food, that water that is provided, you're just so thankful to those people. Now here the Lord himself has appeared, and with that kind of thankful attitude in his eyes, the tears overflowing, that he felt so blessed. It's something like that you have been waiting for so long, that it has finally appeared in front of you. So the thankfulness takes over as an emotion. Then the beauty of that Lord standing right in front of you, you just, when you are absorbing that experience, they say that one of the ways that the bhaktas, uncontrollable tears, it is something painful seeing the Lord, it is called Ananda Bhashpa. Ananda Bhashpa is when you are so happy. When you are happy, really ecstatic, even at that time you start crying. Not just when you are in pain. So this is such an ecstatic experience to see that beautiful Lord standing right in front of you. So out of tears, the beauty here explained is, it as though appeared that the Lord was seen through rain. It was not the rain outside, it was the rain here. Effortlessly, forgetting all the pain, all the deenata that Gajendra was facing, he just pulls out one of the lotuses. That entire pond, he pulls out a lotus and offers it to the Lord. Oh Lord, the only thing for you coming here, what I can offer is as a symbolic gesture, myself through this flower. Please accept. If you feel that I am worthy of it, that I can be accepted, please accept. See, when it happens that we as a seeker, when we have to grow, we always think, I don't know if the Lord would accept me. I don't know if the Lord would allow me in his presence. Why? What is so special about you? You don't take shower, or you don't dress properly, or your clothes not properly washed. There are such songs. मैली चादर ओढ़ के आऊं कैसे तेरे द्वार, धो के आना, कौन रोकता है तेरे को? So there are such songs where they said, when you go in front of that Lord, this is what I learned being with Gurudev. Being with a Guru is such a blessing that, once I was with Gurudev, and there was this, when the flight arrived around say 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It arrived from somewhere from Dubai, I think. So he would come into Hyderabad. So we had all gone there. So one of the Yuva Kendra members, he had a long hair, I think. Yeah, he had long hair, and he prostrated. Very lovingly, Gurudev put his hand in his locks. Very lovingly he touched. But this fellow had just jumped out of the bed, must have sprinkled some water on his face, cleaned up and come. He had not brushed his hair, he was not clean, he was not properly in proper way. So when he tried to brush his hand through his hair, it got stuck. Now you may be thinking, how important is it? Does it really matter? To the Lord, it doesn't matter. Gurudev just laughed at him and left at it. But then when I look at it, when I was there personally, I was feeling bad. And when you go in front of such a great master, you be prepared. You go clean. And when you know that you are not that perfect from within, you are not that clean from within, will the Lord accept me? I don't know if the Lord will accept me, but let me try offering myself unto you, O Lord. I know you have come this far, but please accept my offering. The devotees are of all kinds. There is Shabari on one hand, was so overwhelmed with the presence of the Lord that she wanted to give the best fruits. She had been waiting for years and years and years. And finally the Lord is here. Whatever her Guru Maharaj had said is now true, and she was ecstatic. In that ecstasy, whatever berries that she had collected, she's like, she didn't know. She knew as to what kind of fruits they were, but she wanted to give the best of them. So the only way that she could do is she tasted. I said, this is not good. They tasted a couple of more and they said, Lord, this is tasty. The Lord was ready to accept. But along with him was his brother. In early days when I was young, when I was to read or when I was told the stories of Ramayana, that Lord and Lakshmana was the more angry character. I used to feel he should go through this anger management course. But then the beauty of it when I understood, I had more respect for Lakshmana than for Rama. Lakshmanji never got angry if something happened to him, somebody insulted him, he would not get angry at all. But anything to his brother, his beloved brother, he would be the first one and it will be difficult to control that man. Observes that Sabari's gift, Sabari's love is being seen as an insult to him. So what does he do? He takes that berry, the first fruit that he gets, and says, Lakshmana, you eat this. Now he didn't like the entire situation there. He was about to react and burst. When Lord himself has given that fruit which was tasted by Shabari, given to Lord, and Lord has given it to him, he had no other choice but to eat it. Such is the devotion of Shabari. There are other devotees, like I was talking about Namdev last time. He was like such a, I would say, bindas character. He would go in front of the Lord and say, hey Lord, chalo, fatafat khane ka. Finish the prasad that has been brought here. And finally the Lord did appear. And he started drinking whatever the prasad, the pot of milk that was brought. Bas. My father used to bring it back and I used to have milk from this only. You drink everything, what will I have? Enough of it, give me back. So he used to pull it from the Lord's hands and drink it himself. There are such devotees also. See, what mode of devotion, how you treat the Lord is not important. That we have seen already in the earlier canto. Whatever be your emotion, doesn't matter. Do you think of the Lord in 100% chaste, pure emotion? The Lord appears. And here, Gajendra was in his dinta. I don't know if I am being an animal, the Lord would appreciate me. So what did he do? He pulled out this beautiful lotus and gave it to that Lord. Drishtva garutmati harim kha upata chakram uchchipya sambujakaram giramaha krichhaya. He just pulled out a lotus and gave it to that Lord. And what did he say? Narayana khila guru bhagavan namaste. With lot of courage when he mustered to say something. His mind was gushing with thoughts, but his throat was not cooperating with his mind. Why? It was choked with emotion that he could hardly utter anything. And finally when he could say something, what did he end up saying? Narayana akhila guru bhagavan namaste. Hey Narayana, you are the Guru. To such Bhagavan, I am offering my prostrations. So what did the Lord do? Tam viksha piditam ajah sahasavatirya sagrahamashu sarasah krupayojjahara. Along with the crocodile, he just pulled out the elephant. Immediately he pulled out, and with his Sudarshana he cut the crocodile, Makara, and relieved the pain of Gajendra. Now this entire story, this entire beautiful depiction, there is this beautiful lake, as attractive as it can be. And there is Makara, the crocodile, Gajendra, and the Lord with his Sudarshana, standing on Garuda. That lake, that beautiful lake, is the lake of worldliness, samsara. What is samsara? It's pretty much an English word. Samsara is a place wherein you keep searching for some sara, some essence. So we become a samsari. There was another Mahatma used to say that why are we called samsari? While we are young, we hold on to mother's sari. Then when we grow old, then we hold wife's sari. Holding on to some sari. So he is a samsari. Whatever be the case, you got the point, right? That we are holding on to the worldly objects as though they are so fulfilling. And here the point, they have not taken these limiting worldly indulgences as detrimental. Much more detrimental than these worldly indulgences is the time itself. The crocodile which is represented is the time, Kala. And this crocodile, Kala, has no qualms. It does not care how great you are, how successful you are, who you are, what you are. Your time is up, done. You cannot play tricks with this Kala. And in time, everything perishes. everything. And as a jiva, as a soul, as a limited being, we have this strange combination that we hate changes in life. We hate changes in life wherein we don't want anything new happening in our life, in one end, and we don't want to leave that which has been a part of our life so far. We become so comfort in that zone that we don't want to move forward. And this jiva wants to survive as eternal entity with his own clingings to stay as eternal as possible, one way or the other. Now here I am not trying to ridicule the medical sciences, but then pay attention. There are some signs that the body says, Baba, hurry up. So when in Madhya Pradesh there is lot of gadbad happening, depending on what kind of gadbad. Because if Madhya Pradesh is not functioning well, your Uttar Pradesh will not function at all. So you go, there's a lot of hunger, the body is calling for that. So you treat it with food. Now the body limbs are growing old, body limbs are losing their capacity. What are they trying to say? Your time is shortening. Instead of focusing on the time that is left and using that time intelligently, we misuse that time in expanding further indulgences. And this Kala Chakra that catches hold, there's only one way, one side wall. You go in, but you cannot come out unless you are a Spielberg. You can say that, what was that? Going to the future, back to the future. You can come and go back to the future and go to the past and change things. But in reality, time is a one-side movement. You keep moving. There is no going back to the past. And in that limited time, as a jiva, what should we focus on? A Pashu, as a Gajendra, what is their limitation? What do they do normally as their instinct? Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithunam. Ahara, food. The second one, after food, what comes? Sleep. Ahara, Nidra. And then in that sleep too, can you sleep really comfortable? No, you are scared that somebody might, break in, and so when you sleep, you make sure that your house is locked. You double check, triple check, and then turn on the code. When I was new in this country, I was feeling suffocating in that small rooms, no air, no ventilation. So I saw the window and opened. Must be around, say, 1:30, 2 o'clock, midnight. I opened the window a little bit so that I can get some air. ऐसा बजा उस दिन. That is when I understood that they turn on the alarms, that you can't even touch those things. You tamper with those things, they go off. You need that security always. Why? You don't know when what will happen. Prana bhiti and procreation of your own kind. This even Gajendra was very good at. If Gajendra could bring in this kind of intensity and a longing for the Lord as a Pashu with a Jada Buddhi, with a Viveka Buddhi that has been given to us, how much more faster can we grow? This is very naked truth. Nobody can hide this truth. But somehow we ignore to look at this truth. We ignore to hide away from this truth. A simple truth. And where is our focus? The focus is always channelized in something which never brings in that which we are searching. Till when? Till when it starts hitting. When things start troubling. And we have lot of mother ahankara, lot of ego that we keep carrying around. Ego that we are youthful, we are young, we are charming, we have lot of strength. What do you say? This is down the hill. You cross 40 or 50, over the hill. But I say it is tumbling down the hill. After that age, then you start seeing that all your youthful charm and everything goes away. And the first time somebody calls you, especially in Indian community, uncle, you feel like somebody has stabbed you somewhere, and it is such a painful thing. And you say, I have seen people do this. Huh? Take that kid aside and say, don't call me uncle. Call me bhaiya. I just happen to be around. Just add doodh wale. You know, doodh wala bhaiya means somebody who delivers milk at your doorstep in India. They are also called bhaiyas. Yes, Swami, you should not be hearing all these stuff. Age, when it sinks in, that it is moving fast. And something with this age, the aging has to be done graciously. Accept age as you are aging graciously. In growing old is not a sin. But somehow we don't accept it. We do every single thing to look youthful, young. And the worst thing is that National Geographic, it covers everything. Just before you go to the parties, inject. Botox. By all the sagging thing that comes on will be filled in, and the skin looks fresh, not pulled down, but it looks tight. The texture, I mean. When even that doesn't work, even after that time, and then they pull this. I'm not kidding, Baba. They tuck it in. They staple it in so that this looks tight, young, youthful. accept the truth. The ego is not accepting it there. Starting from there to anything, any change. The ego that there is a lot of money, lot of influence, lot of power, lot of people. When suddenly these things starts going away, weaning away, it becomes difficult to sustain, it becomes difficult to believe that this could happen to you. If you are wise, you make use of that opportunity to grow beyond it, rather than succumbing to it. In the flashy world, not able to sustain the pressure that your glory is done, not able to accept it, end up committing blunders, suicides. Why? I can't accept this change anymore. So youthfulness, then comes wealth, name, fame. When these suppliers which feed into the ego, when they get snapped out, have you ever seen a fish out of water? The way it really जो तड़पता है, the ego feels that restless, that out of water, and would do anything to survive. And it is this ego of ours which is the cause for all misery. Literally, there is nothing in this world that has the capacity to touch or even make a dent or a scar in our inner layer. It is only this ego which inflicts that pain. And that ego wants to survive when it knows that the end is coming near. I read this beautiful thing. Humor in uniform comes in Reader's Digest. I was flipping through and I read through this. This is a doctor's experience. He says there was this guy who was diagnosed with something which they decided that you don't have more than 2 hours to live. Bad thing is, good news, bad news technology and trick. I said the bad news is that we can do anything. What is the good news? You still have 2 hours. What do you want to do in these 2 hours? Can I have a second opinion? You're done, the next 2 hours, pichik. That somehow the ego doesn't want to believe it. And in Yaksha Prashna, one of the most beautiful things that the question asked is, what is the strangest thing? So Yudhishthira answers, seeing everybody die and pass away, still believing that I somehow will make through it. Nothing will touch me. And the final blow when the ego gets, tell you, as long as our limbs, hands, mind, everything are functioning as they are functioning, we don't even get the taste ounce of realization. Touch wood, let them be as they are, safe and healthy. tiny little change, something happens somewhere. Like I had cut my finger. So the impact of it that the entire hand could not be used. Just in one hand, it is virtually not possible. Yeah, you could manage. So when you start looking at each one of these capacities that we have taken for granted, as long as they are functioning 100% beautiful, make use of it. Like in the stock market they say, not that I have any closest idea as to how it works, कभी भेजे में घुसा ही नहीं. But they say that when the market is down, it's a buyer's market. If you can invest, that's the time that you have to buy a lot of stock. When the market is up, you have to sell. You understand the logic? And I don't know the logic. I have heard people say it. Do you understand that logic? This is for yes, this is for no. At least shake some head. Okay. Similarly, when the market is up here, everything is functioning, that is the time when you have to make the final leap. But somehow we are convinced. What is the conviction? After retirement, we will focus on this. Do you know what that word retire means? You are so tired that there is no scope for retire. Hence, that is why they have let you go. There is no more capacity. I'll tell you my own grandmother. We used to go to Chinmay Mission with self-unfoldment books and Bhagavad Gita books. She would say, this is not the time for it, go enjoy. Watch some movie, go enjoy, play. She is very cute. Out of a lot of respect, never had any arguments with her. Just said, ha 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 ha, and we used to do whatever we had to do. One day I started out and it was pouring down. I happened to stay back. And she picked on me and started trying to tell me like why what I am doing is wrong. So I had Bhagavad Gita book right there. I said, now read. I said, why? He said, you just said the logic, right? That when I grow old, that is a time that I have to show for interest for spirituality. Now read. I said, beta, I can't read. Not that she was not educated. The print is so small that the eyes cannot capture what is there on that paper. Okay, chalo, mere saath satsang chalo. If I sit down, it's very difficult. And my back also hurts. When every limb has a saga to share, where is the scope, where is the energy, where is the time for anything else? When everything is in proper order, in a high upbeat sense, make the best out of it and leap out of it. Somehow it doesn't sink in. When that final hit on that ego happens, it becomes so restless, and that restlessness has to be used to jump, to cry out. If you have to cry, cry to that Lord. That is what Gajendra did. And that is what even Arjuna did. See, normally when people cry, it is considered as a rogue. But when Arjuna cried, what was his cry recognized as? He cried. He cried in the first chapter. It was called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. His Vishada becomes a yoga, whereas our Vishada becomes a roga. And what is the difference? He did not cry in front of the worldly things. He did not cry in front of the worldly people. He cried and put his soul out in front of the Lord. The moment you cry out in front of that Lord, you connect to the core and it takes you to that yoga. What is yoga meaning? Connecting you to that core, connecting you to that essence within. Don't we say, even in Hindi we use it, I think. Did you get that job? Oh, hamara kahan yoga hai? What does yoga mean there? It is not fate. I didn't have that scope to connect with that job. So yoga means to connect. Connect with what? Connect with your own source, connect with your own core inside. Yes, the ego cries. Make that cry in front of the Lord and you take a leap from there. Till when? This effort to go beyond. Until you have Sudarshana. What was the Lord's chakra name? Sudarshana chakra. Such a beautiful name. अस्त्र हो तो ऐसा. That chakra was named Sudarshana. Until you have that complete vision as an experience within, you are not left alone. The Lord will see that you reach to that level. The Guru will not sit quiet until you reach to that level. See, when you go to a doctor, what do you expect? A ninth grader said, a bill. No, before you get that bill, what you expect is health. So there was this father who was running his doctor business. His older son became a doctor, and finally this father gave his business to him and said, "Beta, you take care of it. I'll retire." And within 3 months, the father gets a call. Father is in Miami, a retired people's paradise. So he gets a call. He says, "Dad, do you know, for the past 25 years, the patient that you have been treating, I have treated her in 3 months." He said, "Bewakoof. Do you think that I did not know how to treat her? Who paid for your education bill? Along with this, you have to learn how to market yourself." But here in this world of spirituality, the Guru and the Lord do not spare even a single opportunity to let you down from being anything less than that complete supreme from within. Constantly they will keep taking you towards that direction, one way or the other. Why is such insistence on the Guru? Why is he such insistent that you have to be taken to that perfection? Because the Guru understands. It is not an unfamiliar path. The resistance, the kind of, reactive nature of that ego not to accept things, throw away, run away. The Guru has gone himself through that path, knows very well how this ego behaves. One way or the other brings that ego back into that path, only to get beyond this Kala Chakra. Having thus said, in the 4th chapter, what happened after the Makara was killed? What happened to Gajendra? What happened to that Makara? Shuka Uvacha. Shukaji says that this Makara was a Gandharva. In the 3rd shloka it comes. The name is very funny of this Gandharva. His name is Hu. Hu. That is his name. Hur Gandharva Sattamaha. This Hu Gandharva was cursed by Devala Rishi because of some misdeed of his, and he was turned into a Makara. And he was also said that when Lord comes to save Gajendra, that is the time you will have your moksha. This Hu was, who again? Hu. This Hu Gandharva was so ecstatic that finally he got his moksha. Gandharva are supposed to be very good at singing. So he sang the praises of the Lord and prostrated to the Lord, did pradakshina to that Lord and left for his abode. Now here we come to the story of Gajendra, his past. Savai purvam abhut raja pandyo dravida sattamaha indradyumna iti khyataha vishnuvrata parayanaha. Purvam abhut, in his earlier life, this Gajendra was Pandya Dravida Sattamaha. He was one of those famous Pandya kings. Pandya, southern king. Yeah, you could say Madrasi king tha. Pandya were from the Pandya, Chola, those are all from the Tamil Nadu, Tamila Kshetra, Dravida Kshetra. And his name was Indradyumna, and he was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. So it so happened that he had taken shower, sat down in the morning in Brahma Muhurta and was doing his upasana as usual. He had left his kingdom, given to his kids, moved into a forest and near a stream. So in that stream he took a bath, came out fresh, sat down and then was completely absorbed in his upasana of Lord Narayana. So in that way, in Dravida Kshetra, there was this Rishi, Agastya, who was coming with lot of other tapasvis and shishya of his. So as he, came through that path, he saw this king, probably had known him as a Pandya king. So with so much of entourage, he had entered that forest. But this king, who had given up everything, was absorbed in his sadhana, did not pay attention to the Muni, because he was constantly focused on that Lord. So Agastya Muni said, you have not given proper treatment to the Gurus, because you yourself have not been initiated into this path by a Guru. Hence I shall be cursing you, that you take the same form as your mind is right now, Jada Buddhi, that you become an elephant. So one thing that really bothers the so-called intellectual Hindu is, why is it that the Rishis, the Munis, lose their temper, lose their cool and curse everybody? कुछ हुआ कि नहीं, they start taking water in their hand and earlier days it was Kamandalu, nowadays it is the mug. Take the water and they will sharp. Don't go try it at home. Now take some water and say, turn into a stone. कहीं पत्थर मिलेगा, मारेंगे उसी से. Whatever those rishis cursed, it happened. Because they not only had Vak Shuddhi, the purity in what they say, but they also had Vak Siddhi. That whatever they said, because of that chastity and purity, would come true. But if you have observed all these rishis who have cursed, whomsoever they have cursed, whomsoever, they all have been blessed with nothing less than the darshana of the Lord Himself. So, is it a curse or is it a boon? I don't mind getting cursed 100 times like that. I mean, by a rishi. Thank you. I saw the spark, the twinkle in your eyes. I said, really? Chalo, baad mein karte hain. By such rishis, wherein I am guaranteed of the darshan of that Lord. Whether it is Durvasa, whether it is, Agastya, any rishi for that matter, the moment they curse, what did they have in their life? The ones who got cursed? They had the best, the Lord coming into their lives. So in one of the earlier chapters, cantos, it was Shukadevji who says to Parikshit, he says, if you want to have the easy darshan of the Lord, mess with the Mahatmas. Chedo unko. Why they'll curse you and then you will have definite path to that Lord. So here, look at the attitude of Indradyumna. What does he say? He says, Evam Shaptva Gataha Agastyaha Bhagavan Nrupasanugaha Indradyumnopi Rajarshihi Dishtam Tadupadharayan Apanna Kaunjirim Yonim. So he says, fine, if this great Rishi has given me a curse, there definitely should be a good end to this story. I don't mind becoming an elephant 100 lives. Because these rishis don't curse just like that. He said that I did not have a guru. He, by cursing me, has become indirectly my own guru. Guru is the one who directs you into that right direction. Now by cursing me into that kind of a life, definitely I should have a good ending to my story. And this is the end to him. That the Lord Himself rushes in to protect him and save him. So what did the Lord do? Evam vimoksha gaja yutham. He released this Indradyumna of the elephant body. So technically what did it mean? The elephant died. But the soul that was crying out for the Lord, when it came out of that elephant, it had such a divine aura. And the Lord blessed. He said, Tenapi parshadagatim gatim gamitena yuktaha. The Lord said, you shall be one of my parshada. Parshada are the lookalikes. They have the same Chaturbhuja Rupa. They are also Pitambara Dhari. They look like the Lord. Because of the intensity of the sadhana that they have done, they become what they have done sadhana for. So he was given that Parshada Sharira, and he was given a ride back to Vaikuntha along with the Lord on the Garuda. So as he was alighting onto that Garuda, in front of all these other devotees who had assembled there, great rishis, the Lord said thus to everybody who had been there. So the Lord says, okay, before I go to that, what Lord says, here Shukacharya ji very beautifully gives the Phalashruti. One of the Phalashrutis is, this comes in the 14th shloka of the 4th chapter. Whosoever listens to this stuti of Gajendra or repeats this Gajendra Moksha at least once in a day, if you have any kind of duswapna, bad dreams, that duswapna will be eradicated, removed, when you chant this particular stuti. And also it says, it purifies your heart. But the best Phalashruti is given by the Lord himself at the end of this, what the Lord has to say. So he says, from the 19th shloka, Shri Vatsam Kaustubham Malam Gadam Kaumudikim Mama Sudarshanam Panchajanyam Suparnam Patageshwaram Shesham Chamatkalam Sukshmam Shriyam Devim Madashrayam Brahmanam Naradam Rishim Bhavam Prahladameva Matsya Kurma Varahadhyaihi Avatarai Kritani Me Karmani Ananta Punyani Suryam Somam Hutashanam. So the Lord is giving a huge list. He says, those who think of, those who constantly meditate on, those who remember these different elements, Kaustubhamani, or the Lord who is beautiful with all these ornaments, like Shantakaram, Bhujagashayanam, Padmanabham, Suresham, Vishwadharam, the beautiful description of the Lord. Those who meditate on that Lord, those who meditate on his various avatars, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, all these avatars that are there of the Lord, those who remember that Lord, those who think of that Lakshmi ji who is in service of that Lord, and then he says, those who think of this Gajendra, those who can utter the Omkara, those who can take to different Tirtha Kshetra, those who can take a sacred dip or a bath in all the great nadis like Ganga, Saraswati, Alkananda, Yamuna, Kaveri, Tungabhadra, such Punya nadis, they get an opportunity to lead towards that core within by purifying themselves with all these sadhanas. And then the Lord says, Ye mam stuvanti anena anga pratibudhyat nishatyaye tesham pranati. He says, those who pratibudhya nishatyaye, meaning in the Brahma Muhurta Kala, those who chant this Gajendra Stuti every single day, at that time when Mrityu comes into their life, the Lord says, Dadami Vimalam Matim. I bless them with Vimala. Vimala, the most pure mind, so that they can reach no place less than Vaikuntha itself. See, that is the key there. That is a beautiful part that the Lord himself says. At the end, what did the Lord say? That by chanting this continuously, at that last moment, We may never know what that last moment would be. But at that last moment, our mind would be so pure that it would think of the Lord alone. When something happens to us suddenly, what is the first thing that comes out of our mouth, out of our head? You are walking and you tripped. What is the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Ouch! Oh! Very rarely that we find people take the name of the Lord. Think of that Lord. So make it a habit right from today to think of that Lord. Swamiji, in our busy lives, busy schedule, I don't know where we will find time for taking the name of the Lord, you know. There was this great Mahatma that I had met. He had given such a beautiful method, beautiful solution. He says, you brush your teeth. With every teeth, say one name of the Lord. 32 are covered. But Swamiji, what if my teeth are? But the point is not that. At the time when you are brushing your teeth, what do? Effectively nothing. Think of the Lord. When you are taking a shower, I learned this from the Purohitji who used to come to our homes for Shraddha Karma. He would take luxurious bath for 20 minutes. 3 full buckets of hot water would go for him. And what would he do during that time? Entire Purusha Sukta, Narayana Sukta and Rudram is chanted. And his head did not carry a single hair. Since he was 32, 34 years, all the barber cost was saved. Not shaved, saved. But he was totally bald. So when he would come out, he said, to this Shivalinga, I did my Rudrabhisheka today. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, Namaste Astu Bhagavan. He would take shower and put that, he would do with that mind. So when you take shower, what are you doing? Nothing. Take the name of the Lord. And while you are eating, stop gossiping. With every morsel that goes in, thank the Lord for having made sure that that reaches your mouth. And as you are chewing it down, take the name of the Lord. So many opportunities can be created to think of the Lord. So much so that anything that happens, the first thing as a second nature that should come out of your mouth is the name of the Lord. Hachi. Not excuse me. It should be followed by name of the Lord. बाद में चाहिए तो बाकी लोगों के लिए excuse me बोल लेना. You get up, sit down, walk. It should be such as your second nature to think of the Lord. The name of the Lord should come out automatic. There's a beautiful cartoon that I had seen. This small kid runs to his father. He says, it seems like grandmother has new boyfriends. His father is shocked. He said, what do you mean? He said, I don't know, I just heard her saying, Krishna, Rama, Govinda, while getting out of the kitchen. So when you look at the olden, era wherein this, whether they were harvesting, whether they were sowing seeds, whether they were in the kitchen cooking, whether they were doing whatever, they had these folk songs which were laced with this Advaitic thoughts, which were laced with the thought of the name of the Lord. Any language you take, the folklore is filled with these things. Wherein they are singing away this and yet doing their day-to-day chore. So constantly there is the name of the Lord being churned in their minds again and again and again. That effortlessly it has to come out of your mouth. Anything happening, you just think of that Lord. Because this intensity will alone ensure that at that last moment, you think of the Lord alone, nothing else. But whatever we were intensely passionate about in our life, that is what we will think in our last moments also. So there was this rich businessman. He knew his time had come. So he looked around, he saw his youngest one. He said, where is the older one? He says, who is pressing your feet? Where is the middle one? He is getting your medicines. If all three of you are here, who is looking after the business? Even at that moment, what is of importance, what is of the business? Because that is what he was passionate about. Now imagine. In that last moment, all that you are thinking about is your pet. तो आपका काम निपट गया. Why? Whatever is the last thought before you leave this body, you acquire that form in your next life. Whatever be it. We have seen that story even in Ajamil's case. By mistake, he called his son whose name was Narayana. His good fortune that Lord Narayana came down. He said, thank you for remembering me at your last moment. I am taking you home. Imagine at that last moment, कुत्ते बिल्ली का नाम ले लिया. Tommy, Julie, Pinky. Next life. उसी में लटके रहेंगे. बाबा, focus on that which is important, that alone which is important, which is going back, connecting back to your own core. I have repeated it plenty of times, I don't mind repeating it again. Anything that does not connect you to your core, anything that does not take you beyond your flippant mind and intellect, do not indulge in it. Anything. If it does not take you to your own core, while you are active with full capacity of your body, mind and intellect, imagine when the body, mind and intellect cannot function, what will you think of the Lord? So thus comes an end to this beautiful episode of Gajendra Moksha. Tomorrow we will have the next beautiful episode of Samudra Manthana. Samudra Manthana is when the milky oceans were churned by the Devas and the Asuras. So in that churning, what is the instruction of the Lord and what comes out of it and how is it introduced? That we will see in tomorrow's chapter, 5th chapter. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम।